Hello, everybody. It is your host, Devin, and on today's episode of Redeem Position, I have my friend Kyle and Tyrus. Tyrus, what have you been up to recently?
Just mostly just working when I can, and also going to Christmas parties back to back to back. It's been very busy. On Christmas Eve, we went to see Manaya's family all the way over in Indy. On Christmas Day, we went to see my mom, which it was supposed to be we see my mom, and then we see my grandparents and other family members that we don't usually get to see, like my aunts and uncles and stuff. That was all supposed to be on the same day. Well, it ended up being on the 26th because people were sick earlier, and then they were better. So we saw them on the 26th, and we were gonna do a whole like white elephant thing and everything, but we ended up just skipping out of that. But also on the 28th, which is tomorrow, we've got my dad's thing as well. So it's just been it's going to continue to be busy, I guess.
Oof. Kyle, what about you?
Not really much. Just working. Kind of sick right now though. That's fun. But yeah, I haven't really done much with Christmas yet. We haven't done our family Christmas yet, so still waiting for that. So yeah, not much.
Well, I myself has done one Christmas. I've got another one coming up next month sometime. Still don't know when. Uh, I got a fishing rod and $5 bill. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty stacked now.
Very nice, very nice.
So today's idea that I came up with, uh, given it was last second because I entirely forgot that I was the one coming up with the idea today. We have your personal favorite and least favorite games that you have ever played. This is through any generation of console, PC, phone games, even if we really want to include that.
So
Uh,
favorite
oh
and
gosh,
least favorite?
yes,
Ooh,
and
Ooh.
describe why. Kind of like an arguing point, especially if like one of us have like if I throw a game out there that one of you guys really like, but it was my least favorite. Like, are you why you guys think it's bad or good?
Okay. Do you mind going first then, Devin?
Sure. So right now, simply because just it holds a very special place in my heart. It's got to go to Kingdom Hearts. There are I've played 3 of them, but there's like 15 or some shit like that. I don't know if that's the actual number, but there is a lot.
Okay.
So the reason why it is there's 13. The reason why it is my favorite is number one, the storyline in it. It is incredibly hard to follow because at about I think it's the second game we start getting time travel brought into it. But all in all, this takes place in a you have custom made characters from Square Enix mixed with Disney characters, and the game takes place on a few custom made worlds such as Hollow Bastion and Trevor's Town and Destiny Islands, and then you have other places such as like at one point in time in the first game you go in and you're stuck inside Monstro from Pinocchio, and you go to Alice in Wonderland, Tarzan, like the list goes on and on. And there are 3 games like this. But the big thing for me is like the earlier games, they felt kind of clunky, but they were also back on the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era. And then the PlayStation 4 slash PlayStation 5, we had Kingdom Hearts 3. The combat and all of them and their respective timelines felt amazing. But like if you go and play the older ones, it's gonna feel a bit more clunky compared to the new ones. And then the story in general, like if you really get invested in the game, it makes a lot of sense, and it's just like the story keeps you on your toes. And then least favorite, I I'm going to have to say probably Days Gone, and I know a few of my friends outside of this group would absolutely slam me for that. Like I'm a big fan of zombies, but like Days Gone just didn't do it. It is a game that takes place in a post-apocalyptic world. Zombie hordes everywhere, and it's survival based as well. But it's single player, and like when you think of a zombie game, you're thinking like multiplayer, like you and your homies just trying to make it through an apocalyptic world. Zombies everywhere, stuff like that. And this game did not offer that, and that more or less that's what killed it for me. I've never played through it all the way. I think I got 2 hours into the game, and I was just like, it wasn't it. Like this isn't it. From what I've heard, the story is really good if you can actually get into the game.
You know, I definitely understand your disappointment with it. I don't think I've actually played all the way through, but I have heard people's complaints with it. Because I remember when Days Gone was actually like announced and everything, and they showed like a little teaser gameplay trailer for it, and it was going to be like literally like hordes of
And you're just
zombies
and you're
after
just
you.
chilling on your motorcycle, driving around, running
Right,
from them.
right,
And like when I played it, there was a few like good hordes, but it's also one of those like when I see one of those, I want to fight it.
right.
And like the game encourages you to run until later on in the game when you have the weaponry and shit like that to fight.
Right. And it's like sure, like I can understand like for some cases maybe wanting to run and everything. But it's like I don't know cuz people were also complaining that the hordes were kind of underwhelming when they actually played the finished product compared to what the teaser trailer had to offer where it was like a terrifying amount of zombies that you did not want to face. You wanted to run for your goddamn life
Oh
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
terrifying. And it's like the
It's like
actual game did not actually have that.
yeah. So I when I saw the teaser trailer, I was thinking something like DayZ, I believe is what it is, where it's a multiplayer kind of like sort of tower defense from what I've seen, to where like you have 4 people just kind of chilling in a building.
hmm
Or no, no, that's a World War Z, and it's hordes after hordes. It's a wave thing. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, like that's what I was expecting is like hordes like that in the game, which would like force you to like kind of use guerrilla tactics on it or to just avoid them in general. Like that, like I said, there's a few hordes in there. Like the opening mission, given it was the opening mission, you have to go in. I believe it was loot a gas station, and they just start pouring out of the walls, dude. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what the fuck?
Mm. Yeah.
But like, the open world experience just wasn't it. Another one that I can relate to, which like I was hype at first, but then I was kind of like, was Death Stranding.
Mm.
Ooh.
You
That one I
didn't
felt
like
was
Death
more.
Stranding?
I couldn't get into it far enough to enjoy it. It's because
Mm.
it killed my mood. I've heard it gets a lot better, but like at the start, it just felt like it was a walking simulator for me.
Yeah, Death Stranding does require like a lot of uh a lot of patience, I feel like
Yeah.
it's all about the experience. Like I've played all the way through it and it's a really great game, but
Mhm.
I imagine that it's probably not for players who want that gameplay that's like action, 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 action sort of thing. Because like that's not what Death Stranding is, and it's not supposed to
Is
be
it a
that.
lot of world building?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like part of the experience is the slow journey to each point, and the
Okay.
hardships, either big or small, that come along with that journey. So it's like the fact that you might be having a long, slow journey ahead of you, and you might have a lot of mountains that you need to climb up and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's going to be very slow, and then you've got the parts where like you face like the BTs and stuff like that bring in that kind of horror aspect of it, and then you fight like uh, the uh, the terrorist guys. I can't remember their names. Um, but
Those are the guys that are kind of like raiders, aren't they? They just kind of sit up
yeah,
and
yeah,
camp.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and they'll have like their little sensor things that like once you step in their territory, they know exactly where you are and shit.
Well, that's horrible.
So they're coming after you, and they know what kind of cargo you've got on you, and they're trying to take it from you.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, I could imagine some people, like, yeah, not really being able to get into it because it does take a lot of patience and lots of, like, waiting. And sometimes you're doing several different deliveries before you're actually progressing to the next, like, actual big event in the story and everything. So yeah, it does take a lot of time, but overall I would say it is definitely a fantastic game. It just takes a lot of time to get there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
definitely
like
a really good story.
I've learned to like take it more slow with games. Like I started playing a game called Rise of Rise of the Ronin, and it's definitely like it's full of action, but it's also like slow and methodical. Like if you're not used to these kinds of games, you're gonna have to strategize a little bit. You can't just go in just swinging.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think I might go ahead and try to play it again maybe one of these days.
All right, cool, cool. The second one's supposed to come out eventually. I'm not sure when, but they've
I
already
did hear.
announced that they're making a second one.
Did they leave the game open for a second one? Like, is it going to be a clear a clear bridge to it, or do you
I
think it'll be like a whole new setup?
well, I think it's I think it's going to be several years after the first game. Norman Reedus is still going to be in it, but I'm pretty sure he's like much older in the game.
He's probably going to be an NPC, isn't he? And you're going to have a new.
I think he is. I think
Okay.
I don't want to give too many spoilers.
Oh, that's fine. That's like I definitely wouldn't
The second
give
one's supposed to come
spoilers.
out sometime this next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy games that like your main character turns into an NPC,
Mm-hmm.
but like my issue is I don't want them to kind of like I still want them to be prominent in the story, but I don't want them to be like they're doing everything, they're holding it all together. Like it definitely needs to be put in the player's hands after like still have him there kind of like a guiding hand. He's been through all this already,
Mm-hmm.
but have you making the calls, maybe throw some wrenches in the system. You have to change something up.
Right. Yeah.
But
Definitely.
what about you guys then? Which one of you want to start off?
Well, I think I do have some answers. Um, yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna start off with my worst one,
Okay.
and this is an answer like I was drawing some blanks for a while, but I wanted to pick one that I had like played all the way through and still did not enjoy and was just deeply disappointed with. Because I mean, there's lots of games that I just did not like and just dropped at some point because it annoyed me so much. But I wanted to talk about one that I actually played through and was just deeply disappointed with. The first Avatar: The Last Airbender video game.
There was a video game?
Yeah,
There was a few video games.
there
Oh
there was a few of
shit.
them. And I don't think I had played the rest of them, but I know for a fact I had played the original Avatar: The Last Airbender game and was left so disappointed because, like, in the world of Avatar, you know, with all these abilities and bending and stuff like that, I was expecting, you know, uh, because it's kind of in a weird timeline as well. It's like after the first season, kind of,
Oh,
but in a weird alternate timeline to where they do this other adventure kind of in between the first and second season. But basically, I was expecting Aang to already know how to waterbend and stuff at that point. He first of all he doesn't. He doesn't. He can only airbend, and
oh,
Well, that's stupid.
that wouldn't be so bad if again you were able to fully use the full extent of what bending is and everything. There's also the fact that they only have a few playable characters. You know, obviously you're going to be playing like there's the I think the only characters you play as are Aang. You can and you could cycle over to Katara and Sokka, and I think the other one was Haru, I believe. Uh, but
who?
they, huh?
Who?
Haru, he was one of the characters from the Earth Kingdom that they had met along their journey at
Oh, yeah,
one
yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
But basically, uh, so they don't have, and I know this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I wish they would have at least had some sort of like point in the game to where you like switch over to like Zuko's point of view or something, to where you could actually use like firebending and stuff. But there's no firebending. You don't get to use any firebenders at any point in the game. It is
Oh,
just Aang with the
is it
airbending.
just
It's
there?
I mean it no, it's you're playing as Aang with his airbending, Katara with waterbending, Haru with
Mhm.
earthbending, and then Sokka uses his melee attacks, his club and his boomerang.
Boomerang.
But the thing is, like, oh my god, are the games so limited? Because they give you like this huge like skill tree, and it's one of those games where you gotta like assign like your special moves to like 4 slots and everything. And then but the reason why that's so limited is like you have all these options of bending styles and everything, and you're limited to only choosing the 4 ones. But on top of that, to be able to use certain things on your tree, you have to have like one of the earlier ones selected and yada yada yada. So it just really really limits the gameplay and just doesn't make you feel like this powerful bender that you're supposed to be. So yeah, that I would say that game was just a really big disappointment. Because you know I love the Avatar uh, series so much, and the game just it did not land for me.
I see.
Probably still better than the movie.
That's true. Probably still better than the movie.
Part of me sitting here like I wish they would have been like, hey, let's make the second one because like I kind of wanted to see what they would have done with Azula, but at the same time I'm kind of like just don't kill the show any more than you already did,
Yeah,
please.
I will say we are getting season 2 to the Netflix adaptation. The Netflix
Ooh,
adaptation
Yay.
It
it's
does it
better.
justice.
It's definitely better. I would say. There were some points that I probably would have changed, but I would say it is definitely much better than the movie.
Like I ain't
Yeah.
gonna lie. The moment they hit us with Secret Tunnel, I was like, best show of the year,
Yeah.
easily.
Thank God they kept stuff like that in. Thank God.
Well, when you're not trying to cram an entire season of a show into a 2-hour movie, you can kind of make it work.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we're gonna get a second season and everything. I think they've already chosen somebody to play as Toph and everything. So yeah, I'm excited. Very excited. Also, yeah, like I'm glad that they never did create a sequel to the movie.
Mhm.
Honestly,
Like I said,
it
like part of me wanted it, and then the other part's like, no, please,
there
please
there
don't.
there was another movie. Aragon. That's what it was. Oh my god, that movie was just so horrendously bad. Like I don't know if anybody has read any of the Aragon books, but like
I haven't.
just I have, and after watching the movie, like, oh my god, I'm so glad that they didn't make a sequel
That bad?
because it's terrible. It is so bad. Like they literally it looked as though somebody just saw the cover and was like, "Oh, a fantasy book about dragons. I've got this in the bag. Don't need to read anything. I've got this."
Or
Did they at least get the names right?
I think so. I can't remember. They may
They're
have
already better than Avatar.
they may have mispronounced some of the names. I can't remember. Um, but it was so it was just it was just so bad, so horrendously bad.
what about Devin? You probably know this one. I don't think Tyrus would. But what about Dragon Ball Evolution?
Oh my god! Don't talk about that. That was an
Uh,
abomination. That never should have. That never should have left the studio, dude. It was that bad.
Is it live
it,
action?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
it's a
and
live
it
action
was
anime.
it was they didn't even follow the story at all. It's just like they made a movie and slapped Dragon Ball on it, but it wasn't Dragon Ball at all.
Yeah,
Ooh, you know something
like the
else?
the only thing they did was added the Ozaru, and even then,
They
It,
kind of did the same thing with the Tekken movie. Oh my god. Literally
I
basically the
I
same
would have
thing.
to disagree because I liked the Tekken movie.
But it just their take
Right.
on the story is just so bad in my opinion. Like it does not follow like Jin's lore that well and everything. It's just I do not
Given
like that
I
movie.
think that might be why I liked it. Is because I don't like before I watched it, I had never played the Tekken games, so I didn't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
Like now I used to. I really want to pick up Tekken. I think it's 8 now or 9. I don't
I
remember.
think 8 just came out. I want
And
I
I
do want to
really
get it.
want to pick it up.
Honestly though, I got a question. Why like I don't know what the story's going to be because 7 honestly felt like that sealed the deal.
Yeah.
Honestly, that felt like
Um
a real conclusion right there.
they might have done a Mortal Kombat thing where they reset the universe.
Maybe, but I wouldn't want them
With
to do
like
something like that in Tekken. I don't know. It just doesn't seem fitting to me. Now, if they
yeah.
wanted to do like if they wanted to like do a remake of like the originals, that might be cool. Like a
Mhm.
retelling of the original stories and everything. Because you got to think like with those original games, these are
They go all the way
made
back to
back.
what, PlayStation 1?
Yeah, and those games are still great and everything. But
Mhm.
obviously, when they're doing the story and everything, they're not even like full fleshed out cutscenes with actual like dialogue and everything. They're
Were they
basically
more
just
comic?
these. They're like these short little 3D animations with the limited technology that they had back then. Of the character just kind of acting out whatever, because the thing is, it wasn't like they didn't have like a legitimate like story mode like some of the later games started to have. It was basically arcade, and each individual character had their own like ending cutscene once you beat the arcade mode, with each character.
Okay.
And so obviously, like the main one would be like, so like in the first game, the main character would be Kazuya, and eventually he would fight Heihachi because Kazuya is Heihachi's son. And he would beat Heihachi in their final battle. It would show a little cutscene, but it would do that for each character once you beat the game with each of them. But it would be really cool to see like an actual like remake of some of the earlier games, especially if they did like the first three, because like Tekken 3 is my all-time favorite Tekken game ever. Because at that point, now they were still kind of doing the 3D animation cutscenes, but the cutscenes were much better at that point. They still didn't have like any dialogue or anything, but it was like the cutscenes just looked better because, man, I gotta pull up like a comparison just to give you guys an idea of what it looked like. But the point is, the first game, very cheap, mid 90s animation, and then the third game, animation was in, the game released in like the late 90s, so by that time the animation quality had gotten a little bit better. But anyways, I need to get on to my actual favorite game of all time, which I think I have brought this up before, but I'm going to bring it up again. And give some good reasonings as to why this is my favorite game, The Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, which recently just had a remaster for both the original Soul Reaver and Soul Reaver 2.
I have a question on that one.
Yes.
Is it the original that's your favorite, or the second one that's your favorite, or both of them as a combined whole?
The original is my favorite, and I've got some good reasonings here.
Okay.
So like, I would say like the Legacy of Kain series. There's been a few games that have been kind of hit or miss. Like Blood Omen 2 is a perfect example. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'm just going to say the biggest issue for Blood Omen 2 for me would be the huge plot holes in the story. And they were going to, because Defiance is technically the last one in the series, they were going to continue it. At first they were going to release a game called Dark Prophecy, I think, which was going to be the sequel to Defiance. And then they scrapped that idea, and then they were going to make Dead Sun. And thank God they didn't make that one, because they showed like a gameplay trailer with like some cutscenes and everything. And literally, first of all, the dialogue sucks. That's the biggest thing for me, because it's like Legacy of Kain always had this very rich dialogue.
Was it very like emotional
It's
sort of
very,
stuff? Like
it's
you
like
could
very
feel the emotion
sophisticated.
in it?
It was, yeah, like Kyle said, just very sophisticated, like using big words for everything.
Oh, no, it's my weakness.
Very, very descriptive and everything about just very long-winded explanations about things, like like very I don't know if Shakespearean is the right comparison necessarily, but somewhere around that area, you know. But literally one of the lines from Dead Sun that they were going to use is and I quote, "Fuck you, vampire."
You're joking, right?
I'm not joking. I am not
No.
joking. That is literally one of the lines they were going to use for that fucking game. Is "fuck you, vampire." Also, the character designs are kind of
Dog shit.
very weird because it's like, you know, because like the thing is like in Nosgoth's history is like there have been like different types of like vampire hunters and stuff, and there have been like female vampire hunters, but for Dead Sun they decided, oh, we're gonna have female vampire hunters and they're gonna have one titty hanging out.
Oh.
It's like, why? Why? What? My question is
It's
why?
the horny bait, bro. It's the horny bait. Gets me every time.
But it's like, because like the previous vampire hunters that we had seen before, like even the female ones, had like full suits of armor and everything. And then they just decided, yep, scrap all that. We're going to have them with one titty hanging out for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess the breeze feels nice. I don't fucking know.
Oh God. Sounds like a man wearing a kilt.
That's basically what it was. It was like a kilt for women, I guess. I don't know.
Those are literally just called skirts, my guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, there's other things. So like, the main character is supposed to be a wraith and works pretty much exactly like Raziel. The thing is, in Nosgoth's lore, never has there ever been any other mention of any being that could do what Raziel could do. Because Raziel was a wraith that was able to shift in between both realms, the material and the spectral realm. No other being has ever been mentioned to do that, and Raziel was supposed to be unique because he was like, you know, the chosen one basically, and prophecy and all that sort of stuff, you know. But now they're just like, yep, let's have another one that can do that. Also, the fact that you know, it's a Legacy of Kain game, and given that Kain is in the title, you're expecting Kain to have some sort of significance in the story.
Does he not?
Kain like barely has an appearance in the game.
Oh shit.
So it's like, how can you even call it a Legacy of Kain game at that point?
I would understand it if it's like one of those where like he's not in the game, but let's say he disappeared for some, like, I've never played the game, but like if he disappeared for some reason, and then the character you're playing like studied under him or something like that, or like it's chasing him, like your ultimate goal is to find him.
Right.
That would make more sense. But like he has barely an appearance in the game whatsoever.
Right. And the thing is, this game I think was supposed to continue off from Defiance, and in Defiance they left us with this idea that that Kain was now going to like bring balance to the world. Well, in Dead Sun, they're making it seem like, oh, the world is still in shambles and everything. So it almost seems like Kain had all these tools at his disposal now to bring balance, and then just decided, fuck that. I'm going to go duck off in a cave somewhere. Like, what the fuck?
So got halfway through his job, said, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing this."
So
stupid.
So luckily they canceled that. There was also going to be a game called Nosgoth, which was an actually interesting idea. It was basically a multiplayer game where you play as like both vampires and vampire hunters, and you get to. It was a multiplayer game. You go up against each other, sort of team game, basically. And you could even do like vampire versus vampire because that's also like in the lore of the Soul Reaver
Their
games.
stuff.
Is while Raziel is absent in that time period, all the vampire clans, some of them are like at war with each other, because like Raziel's clan is being wiped out during that time and stuff. But anyways, Soul Reaver is actually a sequel to Blood Omen. Blood Omen is actually the original Legacy of Kain game, but it had I think it was just the fact that it it had a lot of issues. It had a great story, but I think one of the things was the hit boxes were not always consistent. And when they made this game, this was I think 96 is when Blood Omen came out. And it was supposed to kind of be like a top-down classic, almost like a classic Legend of Zelda sort of game, but like rated M.
Okay.
So something like that, basically. And it had potential, but there were just a lot of things with the gameplay that were a little irritating. The story was great. I would say the dialogue is really great, but as a game, I would say I don't like it as a game. Like, I think Blood Omen needs to be completely remade. Like, not just a remaster. That is a game that needs to be remade, like, from scratch and everything, because like it has a great story and it has a lot of potential to be great. But yeah, it just needs to be completely redone. But anyways, I want to focus on the original Soul Reaver game because it had great story. The one of the biggest thing was like the opening scene to that. This game came out in 1999, and the opening scene was like so mind blowing, especially for the time that it came out. Like it just looked so incredibly real, and I'm not saying like because I know like a lot of people say like, oh, this game looks so real back in 1999 and something like that, you know. But legitimately, the opening to this game looks and still looks pretty realistic. I mean, well, the thing is, and I gotta, I'm trying to find the right words here. Not necessarily that it looks realistic, because it's not supposed to actually look realistic. Legacy of Kain has always stuck to an art style. Is the thing. Like, it's always been animated, I guess you could say. It's supposed to stick to that art style and not supposed to look realistic. But the opening scene just looks like fantastic. And like, even when they remade the game, like, you could tell they touched up a few things, but they really didn't have to do much because the opening scene was already so great to begin with. They may have touched up on like certain pieces of like like armor. They may have added a little bit of like shine to it or something, or like hair. They may have like made the hair a little bit more like you can see like each individual strand very well and everything, stuff like that. But they didn't have to do much with the alterations in that. But you get into the actual game, and still, like, even though you're now switching from the opening scene to the actual gameplay, and so now you've got the actual game graphics, which during 1999 obviously were not great. But the dialogue still is amazing, and the idea that now you're no longer playing as Kane, you're playing as Raziel, and Kane is no longer the protagonist; he's the antagonist. He's the bad guy. Yeah. Or at least that's what the game is trying to paint the picture as. Like he's the bad guy in this, and you need to take revenge on Kane and everything. But basically, Soul Reaver, one of the biggest things about it is the fact that you can shift. And there's like no loading time in between this, which is also just completely mind-blowing that back then they were able to basically have two versions of the same environment already kind of loaded in. So, like, even though you were shifting between the two realms, there was no, like, loading time. I mean, yes, there's this little animation, and so they could have had, like, somewhat of a loading time when Raziel does his shifting animation and whatever. But the fact that it goes so quickly, and you're not just stuck at a loading screen and it's saying like loading into Spectral Realm or whatever, there were basically like no loading times in game. The only actual loading screen you got back then was just the loading screen to just get into the game itself, and that was it. That's another thing. So just comparing to Blood Omen. Blood Omen had so many loading screens, and so Soul Reaver is such a huge step up in that regard by itself, because you would be opening up the pause menu or opening up your abilities menu, or just walking through a door, loading screen, loading screen, loading screen. And they were the longest loading screens ever. It was so bad. But Soul Reaver had no loading screens, basically. Because even when you were exploring through this open world, everything was already basically being preloaded in as you were exploring. So like everything was already ready once you were heading into the next area and everything. So there was practically no loading at any time. But so the shifting was also a really cool thing. Just the fact that it's like the spectral realm is basically like the material world, but like everything's like warped. So it's like you would use your shifting to change certain things in the environment. So it's like, oh, it looks like I'm at a dead end or something. And all you do is like shift, and then suddenly like the wall opens up, or like a piece of the wall will come up, so come outwards, so you'll be able to like climb up or something. And there's even a point in the game where you can phase through gates. So you'll go into the spectral realm, so you'll be able to phase through gates and stuff. But there's also the fact that so you've got like your main story and everything. So you fight like Raziel's brothers and stuff, and you consume their souls, and you gain new abilities that way. But there's also other places you can go where you can get like glyphs, and you can get health talismans and stuff, so you can enhance Raziel that way. So it was a pretty well-made open world game for the time, and it felt open world. The fact that you could explore and do other optional things instead of just going through one linear path to just like, yeah, go this place to the next part of the story, yada, yada, yada. you actually had the option to go around and gain other etc. Abilities to help with like combat and health and stuff like that. So that's why Soul Reaver 1 is probably my favorite. Soul Reaver 2 could have been great if only because the thing is with Soul Reaver 2 and this is kind of the same with Soul Reaver 1. They both have like a lot of puzzles, and I like the puzzles, but Soul Reaver 2 focused too much on the puzzles. They took away the boss fights and stuff. See, I think it would have been great if they would have had like, because in Soul Reaver 2 you're going to like forges where you can enhance your weapon. But the thing is, you go through a lot of puzzles, and then you just you get the weapon. I think it would have been great if, just like in like Legend of Zelda or something, if after all that exploring through the dungeon, basically, like and doing all those puzzles, you fight a boss, and then you get the weapon and everything. Like that would have been awesome if they would have done something like that. They
Or
don't
like a secret achievement in it.
Right. Yeah. But also another thing about Soul Reaver 2 is like, because Soul Reaver 2, I would say it probably has a better story compared to the original, but Soul Reaver 2 loses a few points for the fact that there's not any real exploration. While the world is technically still open world, you don't get to go and look for other enhancements like you could in the original game. You're being forced down one linear path of just heading towards the next part in the story. There's nothing else to explore. And so, like, Soul Reaver 2 would have been perfect if that would have been the case. If they would have added other things to go and collect, like in the first game, it would have been perfect. But they didn't. They didn't add any of that. And then Defiance, like first of all, it's not open world at all. It's like, and that game you're switching between Cain and Raziel, and it's all in chapters. But because of that, it seemed like they kind of had to sacrifice the open world, I guess. And so that means there's not as much exploration. They did make it so that you could go and find certain collectibles and stuff. But it's basically like only the health things and the telekinesis things. So it's not like like you have the option of finding a completely new ability or something like that. And Defiance has a few plot holes here and there in the story. But yeah, Soul Reaver, the original Soul Reaver, is amazing in my opinion. And they just did a remaster and made it even better.
Have you beat it yet?
I've beat the first one. Still working on the second.
Is it as good as you remember then?
Oh yeah, and honestly, might be better because like, especially the first one, because
Is it because of the enhancing graphics as well? Like, does that help it a lot?
well, there's that, because like, especially like because in the first game, because of limited graphics and stuff, the characters didn't have fully animated faces and stuff. So like when they were talking, they were it's just their face just plastered on a character model, not moving their lips or anything, just blank, you know. Which I mean for Raziel it wouldn't have mattered because he's got that cowl over his mouth anyways. But for the rest of the characters who you can see their mouths, and in the original game you're not seeing them move and stuff, it kind of took away from that a little bit. but now their faces are animated now. They you actually see their mouths moving when they're talking.
So,
And they even like added some more details to some of the characters too, and a few details to some of the textures. Even though it is similar to like the original textures a little bit, it still looks better because again it's still falling under that like that animated style. But another nice thing about specifically the original one being remastered is like the fact that in the original game, just to look around, you had to use the trigger buttons, so L2 and R2, to be able to look around and stuff. And now you have the analog stick, and not only can you turn side to side, but you can also look up and down.
oh,
So that's a nice addition as well. Is that the fact that you can look up and down, and the movement feels a lot better. It feels a lot smoother than the original game. But also another really cool feature that they added is so they did add like they added a compass and an actual map that you can pull up. But also there's a freaking day and night cycle.
what?
They added a day and night cycle to the original one.
Okay.
The second one, I don't think they felt the need to add to the second one because of the time travel and everything. Because when you're traveling through time, you end up like in the future, and it's like nighttime during the future part of the game. So I don't think they felt the need to change like day and night cycle in that one. But the first game has freaking day and night cycle, and I think it's supposed to like depend on like what time you're actually playing the game and stuff too.
Oh.
But yeah, I remember being so like weirded out at first when it first happened. Cause I'm walking around and everything, and at first I think it's like a graphical glitch or something. But I'm looking around, I'm like, what? Wait a second, is it getting darker? What the hell? I look up in the sky's black and everything's dark around me, except for like some torches that are illuminated and stuff. I'm like, what's going on? Is there an actual day and night cycle? What the hell? And then there was even a part where like they in one of the areas where it was like raining or whatever, I happened to look up at the sky and you just see like a flash of lightning and shit. And I'm like, no, I know for a fact that shit wasn't in the first game. So I'm like, I'm glad that they added some things to the experience. So it truly feels like you're completely witnessing the whole thing all over again, just as this completely new experience. I don't think I'm gonna have as much of the enjoyment in the second game as I did with the first. But you know, I'm still probably gonna enjoy it either way. Also, ooh, wait. I forgot to mention that they also added like the lost levels and stuff in the bonus materials. So you can, because like the first Soul Reaver game had a lot of stuff that were cut from it, and they actually had an entirely different story where you were actually gonna like go and kill Cain and everything. But they decided to scrap all that so they could leave room for a sequel to happen. I'm actually kind of glad that they chose that route. But you can actually go and play through some of those lost levels that they cut from the game. So that's a really cool thing that you can do now.
All right.
But anyways, that's it. But before I go and rant about this whole thing,
Oh,
ramble
God.
on and on. Kyle, your turn, I think.
Jeez, okay.
Did you forget about what you were going to talk about, Kyle? We can give it a few more minutes if you need.
No, I got it. So,
Like, please no.
This episode has been brought to you by.
Kyle don't even get to talk. We're done.
oh,
But go ahead.
okay. So, I would say that probably my favorite game of all time is probably Red Dead Redemption 2. And it's because it has probably the best story I've ever played, in my opinion.
Okay.
It's one of the only games I've ever played that's actually made me get emotional.
Okay. See, I
It's
was getting ready to question if it was for the story or for the multiplayer, and I'm like, the multiplayer
fuck the
doesn't have a
multiplayer.
lot. I was gonna say the multiplayer is something you hop in and you just chill with the homies.
Yeah, I the multiplayer is so
There was
lacking.
so
Like,
much they could have done with it, but GTA's their baby.
yeah, like not that I don't mind getting into the Red Dead multiplayer once in a while, but it's legitimately just a mode that you get in and you just kind of enjoy the environment with friends and everything.
Mhm.
And that's it. Like, because it seemed like at first they had this whole story planned out, and I was
Yeah.
excited for that because it was like, goddamn, like we already had the amazing story of Red Dead Redemption 2's, like, the main story and everything. And I was like, man, if they could just do the same thing with multiplayer, that would be great. And they had this whole thing lined up. But then they started doing this thing where it's like they couldn't make up their minds on what route they wanted to take, because it was like
Ooh.
they had this idea planned out where it was like you had just been broken out of jail and whatnot. And the people who broke you out were like, okay, here's the deal. We broke you out of jail, so you're going to help us do X, Y, and Z against this person, whatever. And so that was kind of the story for a little bit. And then they moved on to, like, I think it was the bounty hunter thing next. But that one didn't even have, like, a legitimate story attached. It was like they made it seem like there was going to be one, and then it was just like, no, it's just a thing you can do. You can bounty hunt now, and the bounty hunting's
Yeah.
fun, but
Mhm.
it's not a story or anything. And then
The one hunt me and Kyle did, we got our shit kicked in.
but then they did like the moonshine run thing, and that was supposed to be like another story thing, I guess. And then it was like, no, it's just another thing you can do. It's like, what the fuck? And then they just dropped it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, god damn it, guys. No,
I personally, I can't say anything for the story on it. Like oh god, the single player story. I never finished the game. I got bored, which sounds horrible. But as I've also
It's so
said, like,
good.
I'm a big action junkie. Though is the thing, Kyle.
I think he.
There is a lot of action in the game.
I think he has a short attention span.
That too. And like, I'm also like, I'm a fantasy junkie. Like I put like 10 years into Destiny, like off and on. I think I have like over 2,000 hours.
God damn.
But like, I'm a big, like, if something grab me by my testes and just sit there and hold me there, I don't have a good time. Like, I have 514 on PC alone on Destiny, and then I played for an additional like 2 or 3 years. Played all the expansions on console. So I would say I easily have 2,000 in Destiny, and I recently dropped the game.
God damn.
Which it pisses me off because I drop the game and then they start like, we're bringing back all the old raids, we're bringing back old guns, we're making them better, we're making them new, we're bringing in new guns, and I'm like, but I don't want to come back, and they're like, you want to, bro, you want to, and I'm like, I really don't. You've already stolen like 3 DLCs, $100 each minimum, plus the amount of money I've
What?
dropped on cosmetics. I bought the annual bonus, so I got all the DLCs and all the season passes with them.
Oh.
Yeah, I really enjoy Red Dead 2 as well because I thoroughly enjoyed the story. It was just another game that definitely, probably not the first game that got me emotional. I would say the first one for me would probably be Metal Gear Solid 4, I think, or maybe 3. Nah, it was 3.
I've wanted to play through those. I've only played Revengeance though, and Revengeance got me a little bit.
Revengeance is great. I love Revengeance, but honestly, I gotta be real with you. Even though Revengeance is an awesome action-packed game, story-wise and lore-wise, it does not compare to any of the main Metal Gear Solid titles. That the ones that are made by Kojima himself.
Gotcha.
Kojima is such a genius writer. And especially Metal Gear Solid 3, that one really had me tearing up at the end, and then 4 had me almost bawling.
Let's let Kyle finish the story. The floor is yours, Kyle. Cut us off if we ever cut you off.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Good lord.
The tangents, man. The tangents.
God, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably my favorite game.
I've heard the story, it's amazing, and my issue was early on I was invested in it. I think I got to, I don't know how many acts there are. I got to Act 3-ish area. I think
there's there's 6 chapters and 2 epilogue chapters.
Okay, so yeah, I got to 3 or 4, and then I started hunting, started making money, bought the best guns I could, and then I was just I'm bored now. And honestly, what killed, I loved the story so far, that what I had played through, but I had put the time and effort to get this horse, okay? And this was right after I bought all my guns, got all that good shit. I spent all my money, dude. And then my controller died as I was crossing a railroad, and it was one of those the real big buggy horses where they have the fur on their hooves and shit, and the real nice manes. It's I'm a sucker for horses, though. I love them.
Uh-huh.
And my controller died on the train tracks, and my horse got hit in the head by the train and died. I didn't have any horse reviving, and I just stared at the screen, and I'm I just spent so much money, and then went and got this. I was so happy. I was going to bring it back to the stable, get it a new name, maybe buy it, new saddles and shit. Because I'm pretty sure that was a thing you could do, right? You could get nicer saddles.
Yeah.
More cosmetic looking.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I was gonna go out, do some hunts, bring back some nice pelts, and then it just gets fucking flattened by a train, and I just a solid 10 minutes, dude. I've been staring at the screen.
Oof.
Staring down at my dead horse, still whimpering, not dead, but injured, needed the horse medication to get back up, and I didn't have the money. And I'm well, the nearest place to hunt to get anything is a fucking 3-hour walk. Fuck.
Yeah, I will say it's emotional when you lose your horse, because it's I swear to God, I've taken some revenge on people who have killed my horse in the game.
I wish I could have blown up that fucking train.
Because the nice thing about the multiplayer one is you can bring your horse back in the multiplayer one. It just takes a while, and then you'll be able to respawn them.
Isn't it
But
like just on a timer, like
yeah,
5 to 10 minute timer,
Yeah,
and they just like poop? Yeah, no, I never fucking died, dog. I'm
Yeah.
built different.
yeah. But in the story mode, if your horse dies, they're dead, and it's like
Let's say, like,
the
I think you have like
emotional.
a limited time to go and get the horse reviver to get them back up, and then their health has to regen.
Yeah, but if you don't
And
have
I
that,
just sat there and stared at it. I'm like, well, I know how to do this. This has happened before. Went into my inventory, no health, no horse revivers. I'm like, I'll just go to the store. Went to the store, no money. And I'm like, I'll just go hunting, no horses. Fuck,
Yeah.
dude. I uninstalled the game that day, and I haven't installed it since.
God damn.
there was a point where my horse had been killed by someone. It was so stupid. Like I had barely like touched somebody, and they started shooting, and they happened to hit my horse. My horse went down, and so I just started unloading on this guy.
Oh my god!
And I was unloading on him as he was already dead and everything, and I just kept shooting him. And I look at my horse, and I'm like, I don't have horse reviver. I know for a fact I am too far away from any town to go and run and get any horse reviver real quick. So I just pull out my gun. I'm like, I might as well just end your misery, I guess.
I'm sorry.
Oh god.
I'm sitting there shedding a small tear as I pull the trigger and everything. It's like, oh no.
I think before I decided to uninstall the game that day, I went on a rampage through the town I was in, and just anything moving got fucking flattened, dude. I was livid.
It's actually interesting because if you have a strong bond with your horse and it dies, if you look closely at Arthur's face, you can see tears rolling down his cheek.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh
That's a
god.
really, really sad detail.
And then you have horse dong.
Yeah, of course, horse dong. Who can forget horse dong?
My sister was playing this story, and she's like, "Tevin, what's that?" Like, this is before she had the whole sex ed talk in school, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be the one to tell you what that is. So I called my mom in, and she told her to turn the game off, bro.
Oh my god.
I'm like, dude, it's just horse dick. Just tell her it's a fucking penis.
I remember a story where apparently my brother had played a little bit of Red Dead at a friend's house, because I was not about to let my little brother watch me play Red Dead when it had just came out. But he came up to my mom and asked her, "Do you know what gelding is?"
How old was he? This was back in middle school, right?
Yeah, he
Like
was probably
high school area.
he was probably like 12 or 13, somewhere around there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can I finish now?
Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
Lord. Okay, so now my least favorite game. I think I'm going to go with. I think I want to go with The Amazing Spider-Man,
Ooh.
and simply because, for one, the mechanics weren't the combat mechanics weren't terrible. They weren't great. The web swinging was god awful. It was not fun at all to swing around in that game.
Yeah.
And then the story wasn't very good either. I don't really remember the story, to be honest.
I'm assuming you played through it all the way to see if maybe it was just the start of it just felt bad. And
I beat it. I beat both Amazing Spider-Man games. The second one's slightly better, but it's not much better.
I see.
They're both pretty bad.
One. I remember the first Amazing Spider-Man game, and man, it is just terrible. Because I do remember those web swinging mechanics, and it's basically you just swinging in the sky above all the buildings and everything.
Yeah,
Oh no!
you're
But I
basically
know,
just
like at least
flying
in
with
the
a web
newer
coming out of
games,
your hand.
Yeah.
I know in the newer games, like your webs will at least latch onto something, and you actually swing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The newer games are awesome. I love I love the new games. I know
Yep.
there's some people that are like picky about some stuff, but it's like honestly, like and I will say this. The second one, the story is not as great as the first. It seems shorter, honestly.
Fuck.
Um but still great games. But both of them. And the Miles Morales game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. See,
Very,
like
very
when I
solid
was thinking of
games.
like what my worst game was, I'm sitting here like, stay away from shooters, Devin. Like, stay away from Apex, stay away from COD, stay away from like all that shit. And I'm like, what is my least favorite game? And like, I'm a big fan of the Hoarders zombies. And I'm like, yeah, that was it. That was what did me in for it.
I was tempted to say Black Ops 6. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm. I really like the zombies in Black Ops 6. But I also, like I've told Kyle multiple times, like I've played the fuck out of Cold War, dude. So this is more or less what I wanted from Cold War. Like this is everything I wanted from Cold War because after about round 20, like Tyrus, you've experienced it, a massive difficulty spike.
Right, yeah. Like all of a
But
sudden,
like
boom.
up until that point, like the the game is easy, and it's like just like how I thought Black Ops 3. Like if you had the gobblegums, I hated Black Ops 3 because I didn't have those good gobblegums. But like, like just like in Cold War, or not Cold War, but like Black Ops 6, I've spent a bit of money on the game. I'm not gonna say how much. I've spent a bit of money on the game. I've got Perkos.
His
I
entire
pop a
paycheck goes
Perkos.
to Call of Duty.
Dude, no. That's joking. Get it right.
Oh, my bad.
Speaking of
Boss,
which, my Jiren's rainbowed now.
boss,
Oh
can
my
I
God.
please get my paycheck early? I need to get those sweet, sweet skins.
But
I need to buy some Call. I mean, I have bills to pay.
I need to buy some gobblegums. What are those? Just gumballs. Don't worry about it.
They're gumballs that feed your entire family.
But like Black Ops 6, okay, the issue that I have with it from time to time is you pop a gobblegum and you pop a hidden power, okay? Not only now do you not have to worry about micromanaging points for Pack-a-Punch and perks, just get Pack 3 as soon as you can. And then you don't have to worry about upgrading your weapon. Like all your salvage can go to score streaks and ammo mods if you want them.
It's true.
Like once you throw those two on, you're fucking golden. As long as you're not dog shit at the game. Or if you get caught in a really bad spot. Like I've had some really like, why the fuck did I even like, oh my god. And then apparently there's a game breaking bug in the game. I don't know if they fucking fixed it yet, but you can stack an infinite amount of perks, dude.
Huh.
But
I didn't know that.
it's like 3 really unique interactions. It's fucking near death experience someone, but also don't near death experience them. It's weird. I'd have to watch the video again. But like this person that I was watching had, and I shit you not, 14 fucking PhD floppers, and it distorted the sound when they died, dude. But everything like I think she was like round 30, round 40, and it just everything died. She had a little over 1,000 health from jugs. I think she said she had like 9 of them.
Good Lord.
But yeah, no, like I genuinely like the 3 games that we said were the best. Like I've heard several things from you about the Soul Reaver series, Cyrus. I honestly like it was between that and what was another one? Oh, the Metal Gear series. I was thinking it was gonna be one of those two.
Yeah.
Same.
That's a close one as well. Like and if I were to say
If they
like a
didn't have the
specific
remake out, would your answer would have changed?
about what, Soul Reaver?
Yeah. Do you think that without the remake, Soul Reaver would still be number one, or do you think you would have had to go with one of the
Oh,
Metal
absolutely.
Gear? Okay.
Absolutely. It still would have been the same. Like, because I've never been somebody who's like, oh, graphics always make the difference. You know, it's like I am more focused on like, number one, like great gameplay, and secondly, like I'm a huge sucker for great storytelling games. I'm a big story game player. I love story games.
If you
Same.
could get behind it, I would genuinely highly recommend, and I'll even see if I have the fucking game still. But I would highly recommend trying to play some Kingdom Hearts because the story is genuinely amazing.
I've heard about them, and I've wanted to try them out at some point.
I would say I have all of them. And I mean, they are for PS4. I'm pretty sure that as long as you have the disc, you can still play them on PS5, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I still have all of my PlayStations. I have every single one still.
I think I recently,
Same.
yeah, no, I got rid of my PS4, gave it to my uncle. They wanted one. I was like, fuck it, why not?
Mm.
It was turning into a jet engine anyways. So I'm like, if it catches fire, it's not my problem now.
Yeah, no,
I'm pretty sure I still have my PS2 on my bookshelf somewhere. I just have to get a new fucking eye for it.
mm. Yeah, I don't know what it is about. It's so weird. I've heard people talk about like all of their different like older generations of console, and so many people have always said like, "Oh, my PlayStation 4, it sounds so loud and everything. What's going on? Oh, it caught fire today." It's like, "What the hell? What are you people doing to your PS4s? What's happening?" It's like, do you just not like dust them or anything? Like, is it just collecting dust? What's happening? Like, I'm
Good lord.
seriously just like, and maybe it's just because like I'm somebody who always like cycles through like every single console that I own all the time, because I'm somebody who definitely I love retro games, and I will always go back, and maybe like maybe I'm just maybe I just really enjoy something that I'm already familiar with once in a while, and I have certain games that are just like my comfort games, you know? So I go back to them and I'm just like, this feels nice. No stress, no worry, just some good old fun.
Oh god. Well, we should probably start winding things down.
Probably we're an hour and 18 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
Well, we're about on track with the other ones.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, guys, that has been this episode of Redeem Position. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment some ideas, maybe. Look at them here and there. Maybe you'll fuel one of our imaginations with something. I know you'll probably fill mine because I struggle with this kind of stuff. I ain't gonna lie. With that, goodbye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
And happy
No.
holidays, and happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, all of the above.
I don't even know what those are.
I'll tell you later.
Okay. Goodbye.